Sounds so good, don't you agree? I'm Curtis R. Monday.
Williams.
What's going on, EJ?
How are you?
All right, you're listening to She Flips, He Flips here on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 AM WVON. Call us at 312-374-8139. 312-374-8139. EJ, where can individuals find you if they want to reach you?
They can find me at EJ at buildingherlegacy.com, on social media, on Instagram at ultimate_EJ, and also at Building Her Legacy.
All right. Curtis R. Monday. For all your insurance needs, call the Curtis R. Monday Insurance Agency at 708-647-1005. If you're looking for some business, real estate strategic coaching, shoot me an email, curtis@mondayinvestmentgroup.com. We have a phenomenal show lined up for you today. Coming up on the show, we have Mr. Rob Rose, Executive Director for the Cook County Land Bank Authority, going to be here to join us to talk about what's going on, the great work he's been doing with the Cook County Land Bank. EJ and I are also going to talk about the needed steps or the different pieces of building your real estate investment portfolio.
Absolutely.
EJ, what's your week been like? What have you been doing?
Oh, my goodness. This week, I think I wore all my hats this week. I wore my realtor hat. I had a couple of closings. One was actually the most hard-fought deal of my nearly 15-year career. But I'm happy to see this family in their new home just before the holidays. We have about 3 projects that's going to be hitting the market next week. Yeah. So we're trying to get some homes on the market that we've been working on all summer and this fall. So busy week.
Absolutely.
Productive week.
Same here on this end. We got a rehab project that we're working on. Getting ready to close on a property for sale by owner in the south suburbs, and just helping everybody get ready for 2020.
Yeah.
The different planning. We were talking earlier on the Urban Business Roundtable about the 2 things identified as cancers to it could be a cancer to a relationship, or it can be cancer to a business. Poor time management.
Yep.
And complacency.
Yes.
Right? Poor time management. Why is that critical, EJ?
Listen, time is money.
Yeah.
Time is money. But you know what? Sometimes some people work best under pressure, waiting to the last minute.
You one of
I
those?
can be a little guilty of that.
Okay.
But as long as it gets done. But you know what? I've been trying to figure out a way to block my time, because I wear so many different hats. So to make sure I get everything done and not at the last minute.
Yeah, I'll take a spin off that. I agree that time is money, but I always said earlier that's a limited perspective, because time is not just money. Time is everything.
Yeah.
As entrepreneurs, we sometimes we take an L on an endeavor. Everything doesn't always work out, which could translate into maybe you losing some money. But if you got some grit and you got enough game about yourself, you can make that money back. You can't get back time.
No, you can't.
You know what I'm saying? Time is gone. And I might be becoming one of those surly older guys now, man. I'm very, I'm getting pissed. Like, if you waste my time,
Yeah, now I don't like my time wasted.
Oh, my God.
I don't like my time wasted at all. That's a quick way to make an unhappy EJ. Do not waste my time.
Yeah, but, and Rob, you sort of interject, because one of the things you said when we were talking about the Cook County Land Bank, you were saying that how it's set up, it minimizes the time. Like, there are things in place to help minimize the time to market.
No, I agree. Time is money, but time is valuable, right? Mm-hmm. And when you talk about real estate, timing is everything, right? Yeah. Timing can make the difference between it making money and it losing money.
Right.
But it also can be the difference between it working and not working.
Yeah.
And so when we talk about timing, it's important that people are able to see the properties in a timely fashion, make a decision, and we can move on, because the other part that's happening is that for that vacant and abandoned property, it's been sitting there over that time.
Right.
We want to get those properties back sooner, because the effects of the neighborhood, the longer it sits, the worse it affects the neighborhood. So time is everything.
Yeah, with real estate especially, that in the blink of an eye you can lose out on a potential deal. You got to have your systems in place in order to, to cut the curve. It could be the difference between you getting the offer in and your offer getting accepted,
right,
to, somebody coming in, after a couple of minutes after. So, yeah, it's everything. I personally put in contracts on things, like I saw something on Monday, and waited until like Wednesday.
Out of there,
gone. Like, damn, really?
It's gone. Yeah.
Oh, it's so funny. You see a house that's been on the market for a month, so you think you got time, and then you go back and submit it. Oh, yeah, we accepted an offer earlier today. I'm like, what? This house has been sitting here for 30 days. And now magically a buyer wants what I want.
Yeah,
but, yeah, you have to act fast.
Don't waste my time. And then the other thing, again, I call it a cancer, complacency.
Yeah.
Like being I think that's one of the I think internally that's one of the biggest things, pet peeves that an entrepreneur has when they talk to a non-entrepreneur. Like entrepreneurs, because literally everything that we do determines if we eat or not, right?
Right.
And I love people who work in corporate America, or the traditional 9-to-5 as we call it. God bless you, that has a place for it. Your model is just different from an entrepreneur.
Exactly.
Right? You go to work, you know you're going to get that check whether you're productive or not. Right? Ultimately, they'll catch up with you, but for the most part, you'll be able to, but that's not our case.
No.
So we can't be complacent.
No.
We were talking earlier today. This Marine had this story that he was located in Afghanistan, and he talked about where they were located in Afghanistan. It was a very dangerous place, and they would go to a nearby base that was really fortified and was comfortable. They had the internet, they can eat, and they let their hair down. But where he was normally stationed at, he had to go to the bathroom with his full armor. And when they would leave the safe base, it was a sign that said "Complacency kills." Right? That's really, really true, EJ, with entrepreneurs.
It is. You have to every day get up with the mission in mind. What am I going to accomplish today? You have to stick to your goals. You have to make sure that everything that you're doing is revenue generating. And the other task, you have to figure out how to farm that stuff out. And it took us a while to figure that out, because when you start a business, you're everything. You're marketing, you're sales, you're the janitor, you're doing all of it. But as you grow, you have to really focus on what is actually going to be keeping the lights on.
Sure. Call us right now at 312-374-8130. That's 312-374-8130 to ask real estate related questions. Talking to the great E.J. Williams and also Rob Rose, the Executive Director of Cook County Land Bank Authority. Contentment versus complacency, there's a difference. A lot of times when you and I, we have a spiritual background, so we talk about this notion of not letting greed overcome us, right? And so trying to be content with where you are right now. And that's one part of it. But contentment and complacency are two different things. So people will say, well, you're supposed to be content, right? Well, content doesn't mean you're not moving.
Right.
See, the other part about complacency, right, is when you have that complacent mindset, you're expecting that somebody else is going to do something for you and take care of something that you're supposed to do, right?
Yeah.
And so when you get into that mindset, and all of a sudden it's like, well, you didn't do this, or Curtis, you didn't call me, EJ, you didn't. Well, no. When you're the person in charge, you're supposed to be the one to make that happen.
Right.
And so as that complacency sets in, so does that reliance on other people to do your charge, But when you're content, and there's a peace and there's a happiness that comes from the contentment.
Absolutely.
Right. Then you're able to move into the full responsibility of what you have to do. But then you don't have to be greedy. You're able to take it in stride.
Sure.
Because you're happy with where you are. So there's a thin line. People look at it as the same.
Yeah.
But it's really a mindset.
It's really a mindset.
It's the mindset. The complacent mindset is the one which comes in and is looking for the next break, looking for the next time not to work, looking for the next weekend.
Yeah.
That contentment is saying, no, I want to enjoy the weekend.
Right.
But come Monday, I got to strap in. It's time to go.
I got to do it again. And the market is too pervasive. It's too evolving. The pace is too rapid in order to be complacent, because if you're complacent, you're losing. What advice would you give, EJ, a person who's in real estate investing or looking to grow their real estate business? How do they avoid complacency?
Well, if you're a full-time real estate professional, you have to stay on it. Because the market is forever changing. And I think you have to have your niche, but you also have to continually commit yourself to learning other things as well.
Yeah.
Because flipping is great, but it's not always going to be a market for flipping.
Yeah.
What other things can you do in real estate? You should be buying and holding. Are there there's property preservation. There's so many other things that you can be doing, but you have to ride the waves and sometimes be ahead of it.
Yeah.
And you can't spread yourself too thin, because you can't be good at everything.
You can't be good at everything.
But you have to have something else going on as well.
I think sometimes too, making sure you got good people around you. Like I don't like yes men. Like I need somebody that's gonna tell me the real.
I'm gonna tell you no.
Yeah, you're right.
All the time. Come on, Curtis. That's one of my favorite lines.
I need the real. I need the real raw. I'm a fan of I'm turned on by authenticity.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I like authentic interaction. So I think one way to avoid complacency, whether it's a real estate business or your own or any other kind of business, make sure you got a good team around you who's gonna push you, motivate you, keep you on task of what you need to do, and help you to keep pushing, towards the bar. And when we come back from the break, we're going to get into some conversation about how to build your real estate team. So you're listening again to E.J. Williams, Curtis R. Monday, here on, I'm going to say the Talk of Chicago, but it is the Talk of Chicago. But he flips. Keep it locked. We'll be right back. Call us at 312-374-8130. That's 312-374-8130. Joined by our guest, Executive Director of the Cook County Land Bank Authority, Mr. Rob Rose. Good morning to you, Rob.
Good morning.
All right. EJ, where can people find you?
They can find me the old-fashioned way. Pick up the phone. Call me 773-340-9101. On social media at ultimate_EJ on Instagram, and also at Building Her Legacy.
All right. For all your insurance needs, you can get me at 708-647-1005. And also for your one-on-one business and real estate coaching, want to get a strategy together, Curtis at MondayInvestmentGroup.com. We were just talking about team building. You're sitting at home, you're thinking about real estate investing, you want to make, or you got an existing strategy, you've got your toe wet into the real estate pool, and you want to figure out how to get better. It all starts with a team. As they say, teamwork makes a dream work.
Yes.
EJ, let's go down the line, and not any order in terms of significance, but let's just go towards the integral parts of developing a real estate team. The first thing that you and I had noted, well, one thing that I thought about was you, the individual, right? When you develop your team.
Right.
You got to kind of know you and your temperament, like what kind of real estate investor are you?
Right.
So talk to me about that.
You have to think about what your risk tolerance is.
Sure.
Flippers are a little bit more risky.
Yeah.
You're putting a lot more on the line for a big gain at the end. I find that my clients like yourself and us, we buy and hold as well. So that's for people who are looking for long-term, wealth and revenue on a monthly basis. So not as risky, but in real estate, there is awesome risk involved with it.
Sure. And like in business, if you're in the business professional, you know this term. I'm pretty sure, Rob, you've used it, a SWOT analysis. You need to know what your strengths are. You need to know what kind of your proper temperament. Right. As you stated, again, for me personally, the flipping is a necessary evil for me to get to my goal, which is buy and hold.
Right.
So I know that I have more of the propensity to want to gear towards projects that allow me to buy and hold. Equally, though, there could be somebody listening to my voice that says, I don't want to deal with tenants. I don't want to be a landlord.
Exactly. I think to go with that also is you have to ask yourself, how involved do you want to be with the real estate?
Yeah.
Do you want to be hands-on the front lines, you swinging a hammer? Do you want to be an investor with some passive income or somewhere in between? So I think you have to answer that as well. Because people think real estate, and there's all the kind of things that come to mind. You have to really define for yourself what that means. You
hit a great point, EJ, when you said risk tolerance. Again, real estate is just so vast. It's so many different ways.
So many ways to get it.
We talk about flipping and buying whole, but we could have talked about buying tax certificates. We could have talked about, trying to target individuals with seller financing. There's a lot going to the auction. There's a lot of different things that people can do. So really trying to figure out what your true temperament is and your risk tolerance is a big one. This one would be near and dear to your heart. Realtor.
Yes.
Right? Realtor, the PG, the point guard. This is a hoop squad.
Right.
Gotta have a good point
has
guard.
to run point.
Man, you got to have a good point. Hey, EJ just don't flip. EJ is sports fan. EJ like basketball.
Yes.
Like when you see
my favorite season.
When you see EJ, what you see and what you get are two like it don't. She's tall, statuesque, beautiful long hair. She like Jay-Z and she like hooping. Like
Jesus.
Praise him. She's a well-rounded individual. So EJ, point guard, real estate agents, what should people look for when you're starting a real estate investment business or you're trying to get into that? What characteristics of a good realtor?
What I love about real estate is it's a referral business because you're providing a service. And I think the best way is to start with who are some of your friends and family who may have just purchased or sold real estate. What was your experience? So with realtors, personally, no diss to, part-time realtors, but for me, if I was not a realtor myself, I would need someone that's full-time.
Fully immersed in the profession.
Immersed in the business, has some experience. And also, as an investor, I would want a realtor who has experience working with investors, because there's another level of competence and knowledge that you need for those type of numbers, not just, pardon me, someone who's looking to buy, a house or to sell their home. There's some numbers and some facts and some information that you'll need to make sure that you are properly assessing the transaction, and that can handle the negotiation part of it as well.
But see, that goes back to number one about knowing you and what kind of investor you want to be. Because if I'm an investor who wants to flip, then the realtor I'm going to look for may be someone who can help me find areas that have a lot of activity, where the margins are great, et cetera. So, trying to find a realtor to match your temperament makes a lot of sense.
Yes.
I like professionalism. I don't care what it is, Rob and EJ, whether it can be my attorney or someone giving me a Chick-fil-A.
I'm going to beat you to it.
Right.
They better call you back.
Man, call me back. Man, call me back. Like, if I call you, you got a 24-hour note. Like,
when I refer people to Curtis, he's like, yeah, I reached out to such and such. They haven't called me back yet. I'm like, Curtis, it's just been a few hours, man. You got to pick people that if they're really good, it's going to take them a minute to get back to you.
Responsiveness.
Yes. But that's huge, though.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Because you may find somebody in that, depending upon where they are in their real estate career, a newbie or a novice or, seasoned, no matter what, you want somebody to be responsive to what it is you're actually doing. So being responsive to, to your inquiries and things of that nature. Here's another one for a good realtor, and you can probably attest to this. They got to have some kind of contract negotiating skills.
They better.
Yeah.
They really have to.
Yeah.
And know a way to structure the deal that works for. And I am a win-win type of negotiator, because that's the only way that you can get really good deals done. Yes, you have to be partial to your client and try to find a way that works best, but you have to structure a deal and get people to stay at the table.
Right.
And negotiate the deal that way.
Right. Who sometimes you see this line kind of stepped and clouded. Who's the chief negotiator on your team? Is it the real estate agent or the attorney? Because I see it both ways.
It should start with the realtor.
The realtor.
And then the attorney comes in to enforce, or to have to tweak some of the language or, how it's structured. But it starts with the realtor because you have to have an agreed upon contract before most times even submitted to the attorney.
Yeah. I totally concur. I think out of all my real estate experience, it's more from an acquisition. Out of all the properties and deals I've done, it's always been acquiring. I've only sold a minimum amount of property. So therefore, I don't know what a home buyer wants. Like, do I give 3% back towards closing costs, or do I get 6%? What do I cut? Do I throw them the furniture? And so I don't know these things. So I'm relying on a good realtor, to kind of help me navigate that landscape.
Yep.
Corporations, entities, buying real estate. You can buy real estate as a sole proprietor. You can form an entity. Talk to us a little bit, EJ, about what are the different options and what do you see?
Well, most times, in my experience, my clients who are investors have an LLC.
Right.
You don't want to hold property in your name.
Why?
Because you need that separation,
right.
Between you and your business. So that's I don't ever recommend people to buy, especially invest in property in their name.
So what do you say to the person that goes, I just want to do one, I'm not trying to be the next Stan Merrill. I just kind of want to do one deal and that's
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Even for that one. It doesn't cost that much to form an LLC. The fees have come down in Illinois specifically, so it's not worth the risk of holding a property in your name.
It's that liability.
Yeah,
right?
It's the liability.
There's always an event that something happens. So if something happens, that LLC protects that they can only go after the assets of the LLC as the owner. So your personal assets aren't attacked. If you don't do that and something happens, they can go beyond the property into your personal, and all of a sudden now your house, your car, your wages are at risk if something happens.
So overall, good rule of thumb, if you're going to be operating in a professional business perspective or offering a good or service or doing something in that realm, you need to have an entity.
Correct.
Like you said, to be professional.
Yeah.
To be professional, the first thing you do is you form a business.
Yeah.
If you're going to be doing business.
Yeah.
Right? That's the first thing.
Yeah.
If you don't do that, if you're playing around and you're doing it halfway, you open yourself up to a lot of liability.
True story. When I opened up my insurance agency, I opened it up as a sole proprietor. And I had some colleagues who were very successful agents that I picked their brain and was asking about different business structures and things of that nature. And they told me you should think about incorporating and going specifically as an SCorp. My accountant at the time, I went to go see him, and I went to this guy's office, and he had a bunch of files like stacked up behind him, and not the waitress, but the receptionist was playing GCI, and he looked just overwhelmed. And I asked him, I said, hey, you know what, should I incorporate or should I just stay, as a sole proprietor? He said, nah, man, stay as a sole prop. I just wasn't convinced. I think it was his unorganization that made me a little hesitant. So went back to my colleagues who were successful. What do you do? They said, well, we incorporated. Who do you use? Went to their accountant, talked to the accountant. I got there with them. I said, hey, should I incorporate? Should I stay sole prop? He said, well, the little counting machine. Man, if you would incorporate it 8 months ago, I could have saved you $28,000 in taxes.
Oh my gosh.
Man, I was sold. I was sold. So, so LLC is the most common entity that we see, but there's also this thing called an SCorp. What's been how does a person, in your opinion, EJ, distinguish between going through whether opening up an SCorp or LLC? Now,
that question is a little bit above my pay grade,
sure.
And I wouldn't feel comfortable advising people what works best for them. That's really an attorney,
sure.
or an accountant question.
Great
but
answer.
The biggest thing is just you should have one. You should just be protected in some kind of way, establishing a real business if you're going to be operating in the space.
I absolutely agree. You should always consult the attorney because it's based on what we were going back to before is what is it you're trying to accomplish, right? Mm-hmm. And so for LLCs, the advantage is they're very easy to form.
Right.
You can form them quickly, and now the state of Illinois has cut the cost tremendously. So now the cost of maintaining it is actually low. So for most real estate, especially if you're going to form LLCs, the whole real estate, and do this in a series, the LLCs is probably the easiest way to do it.
Yeah.
But for the SCorp, there's some tax advantages, right? And there's some other formation, but it takes a little longer. You have to be a little more thoughtful. SCorp, C-Corps,
Absolutely.
But you ultimately you got to consult a professional, let them know what you're trying to accomplish long term.
Right.
And they'll give you the best advice.
What EJ just said was a fundamental principle as you get into real estate. No one knows everything about real estate, and so when you get into your area that is really not your area of expertise, this is why you got to have a team in place.
Right.
Refer to your team. S-Corps are great because it gives you a flow through. Mm-hmm. It allows it allows the revenue from the entity to flow through to you as an individual. So it helps to avoid double taxation,
right.
which you find in the C-Corp. So LLCs are really easy to do. S-Corp would be one level up, and who helps you determine that a lot of times can be your account on your team. Let's do one more, EJ. Mm-hmm. Lender.
Yes.
Lender. What type of lender should a person use if they're trying to get into real estate investing?
Well, there's a few different types of lenders. You see a lot of hard money lenders for people.
What's that, hard money lender?
So hard money, as opposed to like a regular residential 30-year, 15-year mortgage, they're short term. Most of them like 13 months, because especially for like a flip, when you're purchasing, rehabbing, and putting back on the market. A lot of clients that I have choose to go the hard money route. The interest rates are a little bit higher, but because it's a shorter term, and it's not done typically through banks, it's private, lenders that do that. And they typically work because the lender sees the benefit of the transaction. They look at the numbers. It's based on the numbers. Like this deal actually worked. So that's what flippers typically use. Now there are 203K loans as well, and there's some banks that do that, and private lenders that does the 203K as well.
Yeah, the type of lender you got, or the type of lender you select rather, speaks to, again, the very first thing we said, what type of investor are you going to be, right? People get scared about this hard money title. It's hard money. I think people think of a bookie.
Yeah,
right?
Or a loan shark or something.
A payday loan place, right?
Well, the reason it's hard money is because it's asset based lending.
Right.
So they're using the asset that you have as collateral, and typically you're signing that over in advance. So if you fail to do something, or there's an issue, you default. They automatically have the ability to take it back, right? And so that's what makes it hard as opposed to soft, where you have to sue me in order to get the money, right?
Yeah, and I think the interest rates are a lot more aggressive, and people get scared about the interest rates. And I try to coach individuals who cares about the interest rates per
Right.
se? I just need access to the capital. If I have my system in place, right, and I'm competent enough, if you give me access to the capital, I don't care if it's 2% or 20%, I'll make good on what I need to do, and I just need access of the money to do what I need to do.
Right.
And so people get really caught up on the interest rate. But a great thing that I think that a lot of people getting into real estate investing really don't expand to, but we're hopefully to expand this conversation, is private money lenders. Because you get to a situation, you can only have so many loans,
Right.
In your name before they kind of set you down or becomes prohibitive against you, even from a credit perspective. Private money lenders, EJ, what's that?
Well, actually, we actually deal with and refer some of our clients to private money lenders, and that's a way to invest as an individual yourself. I won't name the person, but she lends specifically to people who are looking to rehab.
Yeah.
And she's an individual,
Yeah.
and she structured a business around that as well. And it's the same thing, they want to look at the terms of the deal and then they decide whether or not it works for them. But it's a lot of money out there, for private money. But a lot of times they want to see you with experience. Okay, what deals have you done, recently? What kind of yields has it, returned? But it's people out there that's willing to lend to your project.
So a lot of times there are people who have access to capital, they have money, but the capital or the money that they have is earning a very limited amount of interest or a limited amount of rate of return.
Right.
They can have their money sitting in a CD or a bank and getting less than 2% of their money. Or they can have a line of credit or HELOC that's just kind of sitting there that they're not utilizing. You come to them with a project that's well thought out and viable, and you got the numbers to qualify the deal, and you give them a higher rate of return that's a better alternative for their ROI versus what they're actually doing right now. And like EJ said, there are people out there. What you will see next year with the show is that we'll have more opportunities for people who are interested to get a better ROI on their money, and we'll have some opportunities for you.
So for an example, I have a client that needed $25,000 to help fund this deal, and I found him a private lender who's willing to give him the $25,000, and he's going to pay her $30,000.
Right.
Not 30. He's going to pay her 30%, and so that she wouldn't be making 30% on $25,000 sitting in the bank over 6 months. So but for him to give up $7,500 on a deal that he's potentially going to make $50,000 on, it makes sense.
Yeah, access.
Everybody
capital.
gets to eat.
Man, after you got this great team, and then we only have an hour, so we can keep talking, but we got attorneys and contractors and stuff like that. But let's assume once you got your deal in place, then you need to find an actual project to work on. Yes. We're going to take a very quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk to Rob Rose, Executive Director, Cook County Land Bank Authority. Help us talk about what the Cook County Land Bank is doing, how we can find some great projects for our real estate teams. Listen to Curtis R. Monday.
EJ Williams.
C Flips. We'll be right back. I'm Curtis R. Monday.
And I'm EJ Williams.
Joined here by our guest, Executive Director of Cook County Land Bank Authority, Mr. Rob Rose. Good morning to you, Rob.
Good morning. Good to be here.
All right, man. Great conversation. So we were talking about access to capital. We're talking about building your team with properties, having access to inventories. And Rob, I can read the background, but you can probably do more of a justice for us to tell us what the Cook County Land Bank is. For those who've never heard of it,
Sure.
What is it?
Sure. So the Cook County Land Bank, it is a county agency. So the first misconception is we're a nonprofit. Not a nonprofit. We're an actually agency of the county created in 2013 under the office of Tony Preckwinkle. But we have an independently appointed board of directors, and we're chaired by Commissioner Bridget Gaynor. That independent board gives us a lot of flexibility in terms of how we can work, and it really frees our decisions from the political process because we're not dealing with the political ramifications of what we do. We're really looking at the economic and the community development implications of our decisions. So that was a very smart way to set it up to give us that flexibility. But being as a part of the county is what gives us our powers to be able to wipe out back taxes and to be able to reset properties for redevelopment. So we're tasked with acquiring distressed real estate, vacant and abandoned properties, foreclosed properties throughout the county, both city Chicago and suburban Cook. Acquire those properties, remove all that red tape, back taxes, code violations, old mortgages, mechanics liens, and then reset those properties for redevelopment. And then what we've done as a strategy is to then make these properties available to small developers, nonprofit organizations that have a plan for redevelopment, and very intentional about making sure that we are including developers from the neighborhoods that we have these properties in to make sure they have a seat at the table and can participate in the redevelopment of these communities.
Sure. How many properties roughly does the land bank have right now?
So right now, it's a very dynamic number, but the snapshot as of yesterday was about 680 properties that we have in the land bank. So right now,
680 or 680K?
680 properties right now.
Okay.
Right, but right now we have a pipeline of about 2,000 properties that we'll be getting over the next 12
That's
months
amazing.
or so. Right, and it's amazing when we started, because when we started with EJ and they did our first house, we had an inventory of 35 houses at that point.
Wow.
Wow.
And so we've grown in the number of staff, because we started, we had a staff of 4,
Right.
and now we have a staff of 13. With a budgeted staff of 17 coming into next year. And the properties will be well into the thousands here, over the next 12 months. All of that's to say that we think that we found a winning formula for the area. And now we're looking to grow and trying to find as many developers that want to get into the game, to help them get into the game. But we want to be responsible. So the things you're talking about today, building a team, and understanding what you're trying to do is clear, because what happens is our model, our preferred model, is fix and flip. Let me explain that. So we allow you to rent, and the rentals are allowed. About 20% of what we do goes for rental. But because we're dealing in areas where the home ownership rates are already at 40%, 30%, if we're going to be bringing on thousands of properties online, we don't want that to turn that neighborhood into a 20% home ownership, by the work that we do. And so what we've done is we found flippers. I mean, they're doing phenomenal work. I mean, these houses are amazing and affordable.
Yes.
And still in a price range that a lot of people who want to be in those neighborhoods can afford, and again, high quality work. Not only high quality finishes and the aesthetic, but they're also getting upgraded electrical, upgraded plumbing, right, new roofs. I mean, the guts are being fixed as well.
Yeah.
And so what we're seeing now in these neighborhoods is home ownership coming back, new families coming in, and we see fresh money coming into the tax rolls. So right now we estimate that through our work, currently $7.5 million per year has been added to the tax rolls for the work that we do, in addition to about the $9 million that's come in through our work through the scavenger sale. So we're talking about significant monies coming in, and it's systemic.
Right.
This is every year, and we're adding to that number in terms of what's coming back. More importantly, we work with over 400 groups now that are doing this work, the majority of which are black. Right.
That's good.
And when I say that, people say, okay, yeah, and then show me the one black person you're talking about, and it's a squad, it's a bench.
Yeah.
And they are bringing other people into the game. So the work that that EJ and Jason do with their ultimate blueprint is helping to create hundreds and hundreds of more people come behind them that understand this work, and then have the knowledge to be able to take advantage of the properties that we have. And then I'm excited because right now, at any one given time, I can only sell 2 or 3 houses to Ultimate because of our capacity in terms of inventory. With the increased inventory that we're getting, I'll be able to sell 5 and 6 to higher capacity folks to be able to do more work and have access to more inventory.
Absolutely.
They're going to get to the inventory. They don't have to come in with a big checkbook to be able to do that. So one of the things that we don't do is we don't auction our properties off, right? So typically in these type of situations, you see, here's the offer price of $20,000. Well, if you come in with 30, 40, 50, the price, the property is yours without regard to what you can do and your ability to make it happen. So we hold the line on pricing, and what we really are looking at is to see, what kind of team you've put together, what kind of plan you put together. And if you're new, we just say, well, partner with someone that has the experience so they can help guide you. But the question always is the age-old question, how do I ever get experience if I can't get experience?
You got to get right. Yeah.
And so we're saying, well, let's break that cycle. Let's get you the experience. We'll bracket it with you so that you don't fail, but we've got to give you a first shot. So for a lot of people, their first investment property they're getting is from the land bank.
Mm-hmm. So this model, EJ and Rob, is a game changer because it truly does level the playing field. Mm-hmm. And like what we talked about before, anytime that the playing field is level, anytime that the rules are easily understandable and fair, we minorities, African Americans especially, tend to thrive.
We can thrive,
right?
Yes,
we can
absolutely.
thrive.
But just when we start thriving, right, the goalpost gets moved,
right,
and you start hearing rumblings. What kind of challenges you guys face?
I'll tell you right now, we're in the middle of one, right? So the land bank has been very aggressive in the scavenger sale. You mentioned earlier about buying tax certificates, right? For the most part, buying tax certificates require a lot of money, and you have to understand a very arcane system in terms of to really be successful at it. And it's highly speculative. I mean, so, it's couched as a way of redeveloping, but it really is very highly speculative for the people that are working in it. Our role in the scavenger sale, we actually are able to wipe out all the back taxes and reset these properties for redevelopment. So our involvement has been very disruptive. And as of late, we've come under attack. I got a letter from the current treasurer telling me that I was making a shambles of the scavenger sale and criticized me because we returned 72.5% of the properties that we had bid on back to the treasurer's office, and she was saying, well, you need to do more research, and why you're returning so many properties to me, you're making more work for me. And my response is the private tax buyers return 90%
right.
of what they have, right, to you, and they're doing it at a much smaller clip. So you're focusing on the 5,800 I returned to you. I'm focusing on the 2,500 I kept.
Right.
2,500 properties in Chicago is a game changer in terms of new inventory that can be done. But what happens is it's coming in, we're resetting that, and this is available to everyone, right? Mm-hmm. So you don't have to be the well-heeled. You don't have to have the connections. You don't have to have the hookup in order to get these properties. And it's disrupting the status quo. Mm-hmm. And so as a result, we've been under a pretty good attack for it. And our response has been that we know that we have the right formula. We're working with the right people.
Right.
So part of it is just to educate people on what we're doing so you can read past the noise that's coming up and understand, as you're saying, when we're changing the game and providing the access, then that status quo is always going to attack what's happening.
We got about 5 minutes left in the show. Rob, for real estate investors who believe in the model, like EJ and her husband and myself, how can we help? What can we do to lend our support? Anything we can do?
Yeah, so come work with the land bank. I think the greatest thing that you can do is we can still continue to show that number is not 400, it's now 500, it's now 600 developers that we're working with, and we're continuing to rebuild the neighborhoods. So it starts with our website. That's cookcountylandbank.org. There's a tab that says apply/buy property. You go to there. If you see anything on our website, if it's visible, that means it's available. Mm-hmm. And you can put the application in. It doesn't cost you anything. That initial application lets us know you're interested in the property. You'll get an email with next steps. Yeah. And it's that simple, that straightforward. So if there's people out there that are interested, even if you don't have all the answers, see if you find a property that you're interested in, apply for it. We'll walk you through what those next steps will be. And get you in the game.
Sure. EJ, any final thoughts?
Well, I just wanted to say personally that Jason and I are so grateful for the opportunity to work with the land bank. It was a game changer for us to do that because as a smaller developer, it's hard competing on the MLS. Mm-hmm. Cash is king. And, you have one property that's 50 people that's bidding on it. What are the chances, your odds of getting that? And it's just strictly numbers, and that's not the case with the land bank. And that's what I love about it. And to see what their vision is for turning these communities around and then helping other developers get into the game it's been phenomenal. Yeah. We've brought along, we're probably closer to 15 new developers that have studied under us and have acquired land bank properties, and I can just go on and on about how it's been life-changing just for those families. So some of these people are they're just trying to flip so they can send a kid to college. You know, some of them are not trying to be full-time investors, but this is a viable means for them to
get some money,
to make some money.
Yeah.
And then there's those who say, hey, we want to start and, you know, flip 1 or 2 houses and eventually, like we did, over time transition to doing this full time and being able to have access to these properties, you know, and at a table that's fair has been a game changer. So kudos to you, Rob, and your staff.
Thank you.
And I'll say, Rob, another thing about Rob. He's a fearless leader, and he's so inspirational. I'll go to community meetings where there's a few people there, and I'm sure after being at work all day and in the evenings, he's there on a Wednesday night just talking about the land bank and getting the information out there. So he'll always have my support, because there's a lot of people in this industry do a lot of talking, but, you know, he's proven that he's really committed to the cause.
Well, that support is mutual. Consider this as a platform to help get your message out. We look forward to partnering with you a lot more. So
absolutely.
Congratulations, brother.
Thanks. Appreciate it. You know, we just celebrated the 500th house yesterday.
Yes.
That was a huge number. Like I said, Jason and EJ did the first house for us back in 2015.
Wow.
We're celebrating 500. And the thing about the 500th house is just like the first house, a young developer with a vision, hungry, ready to show and prove what he could do. Took a house that was set for demolition and turned it into a beautiful home that's going to, you know, fetch a good price, but still affordable. But was the difference on that block? It took it from being a potential vacant lot to now the best house on the block.
And it's a beautiful block, and I was the only blight on the block. And this is personally, when you did, I don't know if you got a chance to meet the older women from across the street.
Yeah, I met
and
them.
we talked to them, and they were saying, you know, and they've been in this block 40, you know, something years. And to see, you know, this house, it was a game changer for them. So it just brought back pride.
We appreciate you, Rob. Thanks for being our guest today.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
EJ, time flies when we're having fun.
Yes.
Tell our listening audience, where can they find you?
Call me, 773-340-9101, or email me at ej@buildingherlegacy.com.
Absolutely. For all your insurance and needs, call my office, 708-647-1005, to get together to talk about business and real estate strategies. Email me at curtis@mondayinvestmentgroup.com.
Can I get my plug?
Go ahead, brother.
All right, Cook County Land Bank, 312-603-8015. The website is cookcountylandbank.org, and social media, Instagram, at Cook County Land Bank Authority, and Twitter, at CCLBA.
We'll make sure you guys be able to get Rob. Like he not going nowhere. We gonna put him to work.
He's stuck with us.
That's right. We got to get out of here. We'll talk to you later. He flips. I'm Curtis R. Monday.
And I'm EJ Williams.
See you next week. Bye-bye.